Imagine yourself that your body is something like a virtual reality suit. Everything is real in this dimension, but it is not the only dimension. Understanding that there are many more dimensions, so don't limit yourself to who you think you are right now. Plato likened it to a shadow, that your reality now is a shadow of a multi-dimensional version of you and of reality. In this meditation, we are going to focus on applying the fourth dimensional awareness to moving things or manifesting things in this reality, in the three-dimensional reality that we live in. But first, let us look a little at Plato's studies and how it led to discovering the fourth dimension. In Plato's cave allegory, there is a fictional dialogue between Socrates, who was Plato's teacher, and Glaucon, Plato's brother. Socrates describes a scenery deep in a cave where a group of people have lived since infancy. These people have been chained in such a way that they cannot move their heads in any other direction than to a blank wall in front of them. Behind them there is a fire, and between the fire and them there is a path on which other people pass, holding up various objects. The shadow of these objects project on the wall, but not the shadows of people carrying them. So the chained people see the moving objects and begin to ascribe forms and meaning to them. When one of them is freed and shown the reality outside the cave, he comes to understand that shadows on the wall do not reflect reality at all. From this point on, he can perceive the true form of reality, rather than the mere shadows seen by the prisoners. According to Plato, every prisoner that was freed also has the obligation to return to the cave and help free the other prisoners, although he may be mocked by them and even have to face hostility. This stresses the social responsibility aspect of self-inquiry and self-reflection. Some experts maintain that Plato was speaking about perceiving the fourth dimension. Why do experts believe this? Plato was also very concerned with the study of mathematics, geometry, and other dimensions at his academy in Athens. For example, with the 5 Platonic solids, there is ample evidence that Euclid himself studied at Plato's academy before relocating to Alexandria to write his Elements. Using the knowledge gathered from these various sources, Euclid managed to construct a single unified system which eventually became known as Euclidean geometry. Clearly, without Euclidean geometry, there would be no hypercube, also known as the tesseract, that portrays the fourth dimension. Whether you are aware of it or not, all changes in your life first take place in the fourth dimension, or as Plato would call it, the realm of ideas. How does this work? Well, the first dimension is pretty simple. It's a dot, a point, a singular state of being that holds no relativity. Nothing exists in relation to the first dimension. As soon as you start relating points to one another, we have entered into the second dimension. The second dimension, in a sense, is the dimension where we have a full understanding of. We encounter it everywhere we go. The second dimension is the shadow of everything in the third dimension. It holds relativity between the points in the first dimension and is easiest to symbolize as a line. If you lived in the second dimension, it would be living in a flatland, like living inside a page. If you were living inside the page of a book, the pages beneath and above you would seemingly be non-existent. It's important to consider when we start assuming higher dimensions. The third dimension is what our senses perceive. We live in the three-dimensional world. We encounter depth, height. The third dimension is always bounded by linear understanding of time. The third dimension is always in the present and holds no future or past, but the fourth dimension does. In the fourth dimension, there is a non-linear interpretation of time, where past and future don't exist. All events are happening simultaneously, past, present, and future. In the fourth dimension, there are several versions of the future. We have the choice of which of the several futures we want, based on where we focus our attention. When you concentrate your thoughts and focus them in a particular direction, this enables you to penetrate beyond the world of senses and to see that which is invisible. In other words, by focusing our imagination from the fourth dimension, we attract and create the reality of our internal thoughts and images to manifest here in the third dimension. What we are imagining in the fourth dimension is being externalized in the experiences we have in our life. Thus, we want to understand how to evolve our thinking and bring it more into alignment with what we truly desire to create and experience. And when I use the word create, what I'm referring to is bringing forth what is in the unseen reality. The fourth dimensional thinking is the idea that all versions of your futures exist right now in this moment. So when we continuously have positive inner dialogues and images, all things are possible. The law is imagination before externalization. Thinking is very important. How will you feel when your goal is realized? What will you see? What will you hear? You'll hear people congratulating you. What will you smell? The smell of your new office by the sea, because you no longer have to live in the city. The more vividly you can imagine a scene, the more gratitude you have for already receiving it is going to make it manifest. How do I know that this method of manifestation is true? I know because this is how I manifested everything in my life that is important. How I moved from cold and rainy Berlin to live in the beautiful sunny Greece and become a life coach.